Hey there, hi there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to the 2023 In Memoriam video presented by Sports Catastrophe. As we look through, and I found some very interesting sports depths. There were 27 of them by my count. But of course, everyone's interpretations are going to be a whole lot different. So anyway, let's start first. The first major sports deck didn't happen until January 26th, and that was Billy Packer. A lot of NCAA basketball fans will remember Billy Packer because of his color commentating work, and he was the voice of college basketball for both NBC and CBS for many years in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So he was a long-standing analyst. Bobby Hall was January the 30th. He was a legendary Chicago Blackhawk who lifted up the franchise from the depths of trouble and all that. But his number 9 was just huge. His golden hair, even though sometimes he would wear a toupee. But the fact is, he was the first NHL player to score 51 goals in a season. Bernie Jeffron and Rocky Bouchard hit 50, but Bobby Hall hit 51 first. He was a pure goal scorer. He went to the WHA in the big $1 million deal in 1972, and he didn't look back from it. He was still a Chicago icon. Tim McCarver, February the 16th, at age 81. He was known for being a great catcher for the St. Louis Cardinals and for the Phillies and Expos, among other teams. And everyone remembers him as the Fox analyst alongside Joe Buck for Fox World Series Baseball. But what people forget is that Tim McCarver actually did the World Series for ABC back in 1985 and CBS in 91, so he's a 3-network guy. John Motson, February the 23rd, he was a legendary soccer commentator, play-by-play guy, match of the day. He brought English soccer to its core, and he was an icon for delivering BBC's coverage of the World Cup many years, and you know, he was a strong voice. Bud Grant died March the 11th. I believe he's the oldest on this list, yep, at 95. But Bud Grant, his career was huge. People forget that he was a CFL Hall of Fame coach first with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, getting them 3 or 4 Grey Cups, and then Minnesota decided to hire him, and he went to the NFL with Minnesota for almost 2 decades and coached them through very cold playoff games and through division titles and the disappointment of being 0-4 in the Super Bowl. But still, he got to 4 Super Bowls. Willis Reed, March the 21st, he was 80 years old. New York NBA icon. Great center. People will remember his 1970 campaign when he actually had an injury that made him lose Game 6. But in Game 7, he came back from that injury hobbled and scored the first 2 buckets of the game for the Knicks, which helped them win Game 7 in the 1970 NBA title. Peter Klima died May the 4th. He was 58. Klima came over from Czechoslovakia to Detroit, and then Detroit traded him to Edmonton in the big Joe Murphy deal, alongside Joe Murphy in a big trade. And Klima gelled. His number 85 was for the year he left communist Czechoslovakia, and that's my birth year too. And then Klima scored that famous goal in 1990 in triple overtime of Game 1 against Boston. That it was huge. Then a couple days later, Vida Blue passed away. He was 73. He was a trailblazer. He almost changed his name to True Blue at Charlie Finley's request, but he didn't. Of course, Vida Blue, as you look on the screen, 1971 Cy Young and MVP. I mean, how many pitchers win MVP? Not too many. And he did so, which was amazing. Joe Kapp died 2 days after that, May the 8th, at 85. And he was a good CFL quarterback for BC before being traded, quote unquote, to Minnesota in a deal. I forget who Was it Bob Young or Willie Young? I can't remember. But anyway, he went to Minnesota and played for the Vikings, was their quarterback for their first Super Bowl appearance in 1970, and he lost. But Joe Kapp was a great Vikings quarterback before Tarkenton was reacquired. Superstar Billy Graham died May the 17th at 79. WWE icon. His physique was huge. A lot of people said that his mic skills, his wrestling technique, and his flashiness was about 20 years too early to be appreciated by WWE fans. Unfortunately, Superstar Billy Graham would have a lot of health problems. He had a liver transplant. He had all kinds of trouble. And, you know, he's still a good wrestler. He still was a good wrestler. WWE champion in 1971 over Bruno Sammartino, which hushed the New York City crowd. Jim Brown on May the 18th died at 87. A lot of people remember how good Jim Brown was. Jim Brown was a trailblazer, pioneer, and stood up for African American rights. He was actually an actor. He actually commentated on UFC events when they were in the early days of their stuff in the 90s. But yeah, he was a great guy, leading the NFL in rushing almost every season he played, and he only played like 8 seasons. Imagine if Jim Brown had a few more seasons in him. Would he be the NFL's all-time leading rusher? We don't know. Anyway, Rick Hoyt, May the 22nd at 61. If you know the story about the Hoyts, is that Rick was born kind of close to being a vegetable, but the Hoyt family treated him like such, and Rick Hoyt actually graduated college, and he may have had cerebral palsy, and you know, him and his father would actually enter triathlons together. That Dick Hoyt would, in the swimming thing, pull his son on a dinghy, cycling a 2-man cycle, and then they would run together or something like that. But yeah, it was inspirational about Rick Hoyt in his story. June 7th was Iron Sheik at 81. He was a WWE champion as well in 1983, upsetting Bob Backlund, but then losing it back to Hulk Hogan in January of 84. But Iron Sheik was WWE champion. He was a perfect heel in the 1980s for, you know, Iran being bad guys and all that. Then, you know, he settled down soon. He won the tag belts with Nikolai Volkov at WrestleMania 1. He was known for his crazy tweets and all that, but they were concocted by his publicist and all that. He would make weird statements and all that. Did not like Hulk Hogan one bit. And decent guy. Ryan Millette, June 27th. That was a huge death. He died at 35 years old. For me, because I'm an Arkansas Razorback fan, and he was a good quarterback in the mid-2000s, helping the Razorbacks upset #1 LSU in triple overtime on U.S. Thanksgiving 2007. He was a good quarterback. He would play for a few NFL teams, including my team, my favorite team, the Pats, being the backup. But Millette was just pure magic, and I still say he's the best Arkansas quarterback around. I put him as quarterback in my Arkansas all-time team. Trevor Francis died July 24th. I know a lot of people will be thinking, why this guy? The simple fact is that Trevor Francis was huge. He was the first guy to be signed by a team for 1 million British pounds, and that was in 1978 with Nottingham Forest and Brian Clough. Nottingham Forest then won back-to-back European Cups, what we call the Champions League now. And Francis scored the only goal for Nottingham against Malmo in 1979, getting them the trophy and all that. So yeah, it was huge. He was a decent England player too. Rocky Wirtz died July 25th at 70. He was the owner of the Chicago Blackhawks, coming in after his father, Dollar Bill Wirtz, was in charge of course, Dollar Bill Wirtz was known for his stinginess with the Blackhawks and not really praising the WHA. And, you know, he didn't allow home games to be televised locally. When Rocky came over to be to be the owner, he allowed alumni to come back to the organization and treated them well. He put Blackhawk home games back on the map, back on cable TV. He gave the Blackhawks fans reason to believe that he would definitely not be like his father. August 14th, Bobby Bond passed away at 86. Longtime Leaf defenseman. Of course, his famous moment was 1964 when he seemingly broke his ankle blocking a shot in Game 6 of the 64 Cup Final. Had it frozen, and then somehow, in some way, he got back on the ice and scored the winning goal for the Leafs in overtime, which forced Game 7 of the 64 Cup, which saw the Leafs win that game. Some say he was faking, but I don't think so. August 17th, Rick Jeanneret passed away. He was a great Buffalo Sabres play-by-play guy. He was around since the second year of Buffalo hockey in 1971. He wasn't around since day one when Buffalo came into the NHL in 1970. But in 1971, he was there, and he was there for 5 decades. Well, the last decade, I think he had fewer and fewer appearances. It would just basically be home games. Like doing it on the radio. He would sometimes do TV, but he was known for the radio and all that. Like roll the highlight reel, La Fontaine, and of course his famous call, Mayday, 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 Brad May wins it in overtime. That was in 1993 when the Sabres sunk the Bruins in the first round. Bray Wyatt died August 24th. That was a huge death in the WWE community because he was still an active wrestler, kind of. He was coming off illness, and it would be a big, grandiose plan to get him back into the WWE. But unfortunately, he passed away. He was a WWE champion as well, and his Speed character will not be forgotten. He was a good guy and all that. Very charming. His father was a wrestler. I believe his father was IRS. But anyway, yeah, but Bray Wyatt was a great wrestler. August 31st, Gil Brandt died at age 91. He was the architect of the Cowboys, using his scouting prowess and the early signs of computers to make sure that the Cowboys got key players in the draft. And, you know, he was there to help Tom Landry out for Dallas for 29 years. Gil Brandt was the consummate professional for the Cowboys, and how good they were in the draft and how good they were on the field. August 26th, Brooks Robinson passed away at age 86. He was a great Baltimore icon at the hot corner or third base, number 5 in your programs. So many Gold Gloves. I think he won 16, was it? Gold Gloves at third base, but he was just the consummate professional. And if you see his highlight reel of the 1970 World Series against Cincy, you'll see why he was basically the World Series MVP that year and why, you know, people liked him. Tim Wakefield died October the 1st at age 57. Famous knuckleballer who came out of nowhere in 92 to be 10-1 with the Pittsburgh Pirates and won a couple of key games for them in the NLCS. Too bad that they couldn't use him more because the Braves won that NLCS in Game 7. But Tim Wakefield was a good knuckler. He played for Boston for 17 years, the longest for a pitcher in Boston Red Sox history to play for the Red Sox. Of course, he's known for giving up that knuckler to Aaron Boone that won the 2003 pennant for the Yankees. But his knuckleball was effective, and he was effective, especially in a time when knuckleballs were not really thrown that much, and longevity just didn't work out. Also on October 1st, CFL fans grieved as George Weah passed away at age 83. He was a Saskatchewan CFL icon, and he was huge for them. because his number 34 retired by the Rough Riders. In 2006, he was named the second greatest player in CFL history. I don't know how good he would be in a poll this year, but anyway, George Reed was a fantastic running back for Sasky. And, you know, he carried the Rough Riders to a Grey Cup, in 1966, but, you know, he was good. Dick Butkus, October the 5th, at age 80, he died. He was a great middle linebacker for the Bears, number 51 in your programs. Hard-nosed, he played for Illinois as well. Has a trophy named after him, if memory serves me right, for middle linebackers in college sports. And he was great. He was great for the Bears. He really wanted to play his hardest. He was ferocious. He was in a few major projects. He was in Hang Time, that NBC Saturday morning show with Anthony Anderson in it. But yeah, Butkus knew what he did. And then Bobby Charlton, I should say, October 21st, died at age 86, the England World Cup captain. Bobby Charlton was a great player and all that. He helped Manchester United win the 1968 European Cup / Champions League. He was England prowess. He was the captain. He of the 66 World Cup winning squad. He was just debonair, and he actually had the England goal scoring record that was finally broken by Wayne Rooney. But you know, Charlton was a good striker when he had to be. Bobby Knight died November the 1st at age 83. Great coach for NCAA for the Hoosiers, winning 3 national titles, 76, 81, 87. Known for his fiery temper and off-the-court antics. Well, especially at the Pan American Games in 1979, he got jailed for a little bit. He was just pure gold for Indiana, but he did have a discipline problem and all that, and that's what kind of cost him his job in 2000. But then he went to Texas Tech, became the winningest NCAA head coach at the time, and he was known for his abrasive personality. And lastly, December the 31st, just yesterday, we lost Cale Yarborough at age 84, a NASCAR icon who was very good, winning 4 Daytona 500s. He was a fantastic guy and all that, and he was a good race car driver, and he would be sorely missed. So anyhow, that is all for the 2023 In Memoriam video. I hope you enjoyed it and seen me talk about the legends in my mind that passed away this year. Godspeed, gentlemen. I'm Jeff Diamond, I do.